The galaxy shimmered with 1,000,000 stars, each one a jewel in the crown of the Galactic Concord, a council of ancient species who had ruled the cosmos for eons. Their ships glided silently through the void, built from metals that sang with energy, their cities glowed on planets where gravity bent to their will. These were civilizations that measured time in millennia, who saw themselves as the pinnacle of existence. And then, they found Earth. It was a small, noisy planet orbiting a modest yellow star. The Concord scouts had watched it for centuries, amused by its inhabitants, humans, they called themselves. A species that still argued over land, burned fuel to move, and hadn't even mastered faster-than-light travel. To the Concord, humans were children playing with sticks in a universe of gods. So, when the council decided to make contact, it wasn't out of respect. It was curiosity, tinged with pity. The Concord's ambassador, Vree, arrived on Earth in a ship that looked like a giant praying mantis carved from glass. He stood 9 feet tall, his insectoid body clicking with every step, his compound eyes glinting under the sun. Beside him floated a translator orb, humming softly as it prepared to turn his chittering speech into human words. The Concord had sent him to offer Earth a deal, probationary membership in the galaxy's order, but only if humans could follow their rules. Vree didn't expect much. He'd seen species like this before, young, messy, doomed to fade. On the ground, a small crowd waited. At the front stood Mia, a wiry engineer with grease-stained hands and a mind that never stopped spinning. Next to her was Leo, a diplomat with a crooked grin and a knack for talking his way out of anything. They'd been chosen to meet Vree, though neither was sure why. Mia had been fixing a busted satellite when the call came, and Leo had been halfway through a sandwich. Now, they faced an alien who looked like he could snap them in half. "Greetings, humans," Vree's voice buzzed through the orb. "I am Vree of the Galactic Concord. We have watched your kind stumble through your little world. You are loud, divided, and crude. Yet, we offer you a chance, a small one, to join us. Prove you can obey our laws, and perhaps you'll survive among the stars." Mia raised an eyebrow. Leo chuckled, brushing crumbs off his jacket. "Nice to meet you too," Leo said. "So, what's the catch? You don't just show up with a shiny ship and hand out invitations." Vree's mandibles twitched. "The catch, as you say, is simple. You will follow our guidelines. No unapproved technology. No interference in our systems. Your planet will be monitored. Fail, and we'll leave you to your dust." Mia crossed her arms. "Sounds like you're babysitting us. What's in it for you?" "We study emerging species," Vree replied. "You are an experiment." The meeting ended with a stack of rules, hundreds of pages detailing everything from energy limits to communication protocols. Vree left in his ship, expecting the humans to struggle with the basics. He didn't know Mia and Leo were already plotting. Back at a cluttered workshop, Mia flipped through the Concord's rules, her fingers smudged with ink. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a line. "They say we can't build anything beyond Class 3 energy output. But their definition of build is so narrow it only covers finished machines. Nothing about prototypes." Leo grinned. "So, we make something that's never finished. Keep it a work in progress. They can't stop us if it's not breaking their rules." Days turned into weeks. Mia gathered a team, mechanics, coders, even a kid who'd once won a science fair with a potato battery. They worked in a warehouse, surrounded by junk, old car parts, busted radios, and a coffee machine that hissed like it was alive. The Concord had given them a small device, a gift to help Earth communicate with the galaxy. It was a sleek cube, glowing faintly, meant to send simple messages. Mia saw more in it. She cracked it open, wires spilling out like guts. "This thing's got a power core," she muttered. "Tiny, but it's humming with energy. If we boost it with something from Earth. Like what? Leo asked, leaning over her shoulder. Mia grabbed a rusty generator from the corner. This. It's loud, it's ugly, but it'll amplify anything. Concord won't see it coming, they don't think we can mix their tech with ours. The team worked fast. They hooked the cube to the generator, patched it with cables, and added a speaker scavenged from an old stereo. The result was a mess, a tangle of metal and sparks that looked like it might explode. But when Mia flipped the switch, it roared to life. The cube's glow pulsed, and a signal shot out, stronger than anything the Concorde expected. It wasn't just a message, it was a broadcast, loud enough to reach every ship in the system. Leo laughed. What do we say? Mia shrugged. Something human. Let's confuse them. They recorded a mix of music, rock beats and violin hums, layered with voices shouting greetings in a dozen languages. It wasn't polished. It was chaos. And it worked. Up in orbit, Vria's ship jolted as the signal hit. His crew scrambled, their screens flashing with noise. What is this? Vri demanded, his claws slashing the air. They were given a communicator, not a weapon. It's not a weapon, a technician chittered. It's sound. And words. Many words. They've boosted our device beyond its limits. Vri stared at the data. The signal wasn't breaking any rules, not technically. The Concorde's laws didn't account for humans turning a gift into something new. He clicked his mandibles, a sound of frustration. They're louder than we thought, he said. Primitive, yes, but clever. Back on Earth, Mia and Leo watched the sky. The warehouse buzzed with excitement as their team cheered. They'd sent a message, not just to Vri, but to the galaxy. Humans weren't here to follow rules. They were here to bend them. The Concorde had underestimated them. Vri knew it now, though he wouldn't admit it. His ship hovered above, sensors whirring as he tried to understand what he'd unleashed. Humans weren't just noisy children. They were something else, something that could turn scraps into miracles, chaos into strength. The Galactic Concorde didn't like surprises. For centuries, their rules had kept the galaxy neat and predictable, like a garden trimmed by 1,000 careful hands. But humans weren't fitting into that garden. After Mia and Leo's chaotic broadcast shook Vria's ship, the Concorde decided to tighten their grip. They summoned Earth's representatives to a meeting, not on Earth, but in the cold void of space, aboard a massive station that gleamed like a frozen star. Mia stood beside Leo in the station's vast chamber, her boots scuffing the polished floor. Vri loomed before them, his insectoid form flanked by other Concorde delegates, beings of light, metal, and shifting mist. The air buzzed with their displeasure. Leo adjusted his tie, flashing a grin that didn't quite hide his nerves. Behind them was Terra, a pilot with wild hair and a habit of cracking her knuckles, who joined the team after hearing about the broadcast. She muttered, "This place gives me the creeps." Vria's voice cut through the hum. "Your species has proven disruptive," he said, his translator orb pulsing red. "The Concorde does not tolerate chaos. You will face a test. Pass, and you may keep your probation. Fail, and Earth stays silent forever." Mia tilted her head. "What kind of test?" "A survival challenge," Vri replied. "We will place you on an asteroid, empty, harsh, lifeless. You will have tools, basic ones, approved by our laws. Survive one cycle, 30 of your days, and we'll consider you worthy. But do not expect mercy." Leo leaned toward Mia. "They're setting us up to fail," he whispered. "No way they think we'll make it." "Good," Mia whispered back. "Let's prove them wrong." The Concorde shipped them off without delay. Mia, Leo, Terra, and a handful of volunteers, engineers, a cook, even a musician named Sam, found themselves dumped on a gray rock floating in the black. The asteroid was a jagged scar of stone, pocked with craters, its air thin and bitter. The tools Vree gave them were laughable: a solar panel that flickered, a water purifier that whined, and a stack of metal sheets that looked like they'd rust in a breeze. Above, a crystalline overseer named Clyde hovered, its faceted body glinting as it watched. "Follow the rules," Clyde's voce chimed, sharp and cold. "No unapproved methods. I will judge you." Terra kicked a pebble, watching it skitter across the dust. "This is a joke. They want us to starve." Mia grinned, already pulling apart the solar panel. "Then let's make it a funny one." The first day was brutal. The sun scorched the rock, then plunged it into freezing night. The team huddled under a tarp strung between boulders, their breath fogging in the dim light. Mia worked fast, rewiring the panel with bits of wire from her pocket. "It's weak," she said, "but if we hook it to the purifier's pump, we can double its output." Leo scratched his chin. "That's not in their manual." "Exactly," Mia said. "They didn't say we couldn't." By day 3, they had water, murky, but drinkable. Terra scouted the asteroid in a rickety rover from the tool kit, mapping cracks where frost hid. Sam, the musician, tapped rhythms on the metal sheets, laughing when he found they could amplify sound. "Could be useful," he said, and Mia's eyes lit up. Clyde floated above, its glow dimming with confusion. "You tamper with our gifts," it said. "This is not the intended use." "We're surviving," Leo shot back. "Isn't that the point?" The overseer didn't reply, but its silence felt heavy. The Concord had built Clyde to enforce logic, clean, perfect logic. Humans weren't playing that game. By day 10, the team had a rhythm. Mia's makeshift power grid hummed, feeding a heater Terra had jury-rigged from the rover's engine. The cook, an older woman named Rosa, turned ration paste into something edible with spices she'd smuggled in her bag. "Rules didn't say no seasonings," she said with a wink. They weren't just surviving, they were living. But the asteroid fought back. A storm hit on day 15, a howling blast of dust and ice that tore their tarp and cracked the purifier. Clyde watched, unmoving, as the team scrambled. "This is your limit," it said. "You cannot overcome nature." Terra spat dust from her mouth. "Watch us." Mia rallied them. She grabbed the broken purifier, its pipes bent, and started sketching in the dirt. "We've got metal sheets, Sam's sound trick, and this junk. Let's build something new." They worked through the night, hands numb, eyes stinging. Terra welded with a torch from the rover, sparks flying like tiny stars. Sam tuned the sheets until they vibrated, channeling the storm's wind into a low hum that powered a fan Mia rigged from scraps. By morning, they had a windmill, ugly, wobbly, but spinning. It pulled energy from the storm, feeding their grid. The purifier groaned back to life. Clyde's glow flickered. This defies design," it said. "You used chaos." "Chaos works," Mia replied, wiping sweat from her brow. The final days tested their grit. Food dwindled, and the cold bit deeper. But the humans didn't break. Rosa stretched the rations with tricks she'd learned in lean years. Terra flew the rover low, spotting mineral veins they turned into insulation. Leo kept spirits high, cracking jokes that echoed off the rocks. And Mia never stopped tinkering. She built a signal booster from the solar panel's core, linking it to Sam's sound sheets. "If we're stuck here," she said, "let's shout about it." On day 30, as Clyde prepared to judge, the booster roared. A wave of noise, music, laughter, Rosa's recipes, blasted across the asteroid, loud enough to rattle Clyde's crystals. The overseer spun, its voice shrill. "What is this? You were to survive, not scream." "We did both," Leo said, grinning. "Check your rules." Nothing says we can't be loud. The cycle ended. The Concorde's ship returned, Vree stepping onto the asteroid with a scowl. He surveyed the camp, the windmill, the booster, the team laughing over Rosa's last meal. Clyde floated beside him, its glow unsteady. They survived, it admitted. But not as intended. They broke no rules, yet, they bent them. Vree clicked his claws. Bent them how? They turned limits into tools, Clyde said. Their minds, they do not follow paths. They make new ones. Mia stepped forward, hands on her hips. So, do we pass? Vree stared at her, then at the ragtag humans behind her. They were dirty, tired, but their eyes burned with something he couldn't name. You pass, he said finally. For now. The ship took them back to Earth, the team buzzing with pride. They'd faced the Concorde's test and turned it into a stage. But Vree lingered in the station, replaying Clyde's words. New paths, he muttered. The Concorde thrived on order, on control. Humans thrived on the opposite. In orbit, Clyde spoke again, its voice low. They are dangerous, Vree. Not because they disobey, but because they adapt. If they continue, the galaxy will not stay as it is. Vree's mandibles tightened. He'd come to Earth expecting failure, a species too weak to matter. Now, he saw something else, a spark that could burn through their perfect order. The Concorde had rules, centuries of them, written in starlight. Humans didn't care. They'd rewrite the book if they had to. Back on Earth, Mia, Leo, and Tara sat in the warehouse, the broadcast cube still humming from their first stunt. Think they'll try again? Tara asked, tossing a wrench in the air. Oh, they will, Leo said. And we'll be ready. Mia smiled, already sketching a new idea. The Concorde thought this was over. They were wrong. Humans weren't just surviving, they were building something bigger, something the galaxy couldn't ignore. And out there, among the stars, the first cracks in the Concorde's armor began to show. The Galactic Concorde wasn't used to being outplayed. For eons, their rules had held the galaxy together, a web of laws that kept every species in line. But humans were tugging at that web, and the threads were starting to fray. After the asteroid test, Vree returned to the Concorde's Grand Council chamber, his claws clicking nervously against the floor. The other delegates, beings of shimmering energy, hulking metal, and whispering mist, watched him with eyes that glowed or clicked or pulsed. The air was thick with tension. They survived, Vree reported, his translator orb buzzing. Not just survived, they thrived. They turned our tools into something else. Something we didn't predict. A delegate of light, its voice like a chime, spoke. Then they are a problem. Chaos cannot be allowed to spread. Clyde, the crystalline overseer, floated forward, its facets dim. They follow our rules, yet they twist them. Their minds are not bound by order. They could unravel us. Vree nodded slowly. We must act. Force them to conform, or cut them off. Back on Earth, Mia, Leo, and Tara felt the shift. The Concorde's ships lingered in orbit, their sleek forms casting shadows over cities. Messages arrived, stern, clipped demands. Cease your reckless ways, one read. Unify your planet, abandon your crude inventions, or face isolation. The tone wasn't a suggestion. It was a threat. Leo tossed the message onto a table in the warehouse. They're scared, he said, grinning. We rattled them. Tara smirked, spinning a wrench in her hand. Good. Let's rattle them more. Mia paced, her mind racing. They think we'll back down. But we've got something they don't, curiosity. They've been sitting on their thrones too long. Let's dig deeper. She turned to the broadcast cube, still humming from their asteroid stunt. It was a Concorde gift, but Mia saw it as a key. She'd cracked it open before, boosted it with Earth tech. Now, she wondered what else it could do. With her team, engineers, coders, even Rosa the cook, they tore into its guts again. Wires sparked, screens flickered. Then, Tara spotted something, a tiny port, hidden under a panel. "What's that?" she asked, leaning in. Mia plugged in a cable from an old laptop. Data flooded the screen, alien symbols, maps, logs. "It's a backdoor," she said, eyes wide. "This thing's connected to their network. We've got a window into the Concorde." The team worked late into the night, decoding what they could. The logs told a story. The Concorde's oldest species had once been explorers, builders, dreamers. But over time, they'd locked themselves into rules, afraid of change. Their tech was perfect, their cities flawless, yet they hadn't invented anything new in centuries. Mia leaned back, a spark igniting in her chest. "They're stuck," she said. "We're not." Leo rubbed his hands together. "So, we use this. Show the galaxy what they're missing." They hatched a plan, not to fight, not yet, but to reach out. The cube could broadcast again, but this time, they'd aim wider. Not just to Vria's ship, but to every corner of the Concorde's domain. They'd send Earth's voice, its chaotic, messy, beautiful voice, and see who listened. Days later, the warehouse buzzed with activity. Sam the musician strummed a guitar, recording riffs that echoed with hope. Rosa shared stories of her grandmother's recipes, her voice warm and steady. Tara filmed the team laughing, arguing, building. Leo narrated, his words simple but sharp, "We're humans. We stumble, we fight, we dream. We don't give up. Join us." Mia tweaked the cube, linking it to satellites scavenged from junkyards. The signal wasn't clean, it crackled, it wobbled, but it was strong. When she hit the switch, it roared across the stars, a wave of sound and light that punched through the Concorde's sterile silence. The galaxy heard it. On a desert world, a young reptilian named Solara paused, her scales glinting as the broadcast hit her comm device. She was a low-ranking officer in the Concorde's fleet, bored with endless patrols. The human signal, wild, raw, alive, stirred something in her. She replayed it, then hid it from her superiors. On a gas giant's moon, a cluster of floating drones hummed with confusion as Sam's music leaked through their sensors. Their operators, a species of gas-born thinkers, argued over its meaning. "It's noise," one said. "It's freedom," another whispered. Vri felt the broadcast too. His ship shuddered as the signal breached its walls. He stormed to the bridge, claws slashing. "Block it," he roared. But his crew hesitated. "It's everywhere," a technician chittered. "They've hijacked our own relays." Clyte spun beside him, its voice shrill. "This is defiance. They mock our order." "No," Vri said, staring at a screen flashing with human faces. "They're inviting others to mock it." The Concorde convened again, fury rippling through the chamber. They spread chaos, a metal delegate rumbled. "We must silence them, cut their trade, block their signals, lock them to their rock." But not everyone agreed. Solara, risking her rank, slipped away from her post. She'd grown up on tales of the Concorde's glory, but the human broadcast showed her something else, a species that didn't bow. She sent a message, cloaked in static, to Earth. "I hear you," it said. "I want to know more." Mia's team picked it up, a faint blip on their hacked cube. "Who's this?" Tara asked, squinting at the screen. "Someone curious," Mia said, smiling. "That's all we need." The broadcast kept rolling, day after day. Earth cities buzzed with it, people joined in, sending art, songs, even jokes. A kid in a basement streamed a puppet show about aliens. A teacher beamed lessons on gravity and hope. It wasn't perfect, but it was human, messy, loud, unstoppable. The Concorde's grip weakened. Younger species, tired of rigid laws, whispered about the signal. On a jungle planet, a feathered race danced to Sam's tunes. A trader ship rerouted to Earth, curious about these humans who defied the giants. Vree saw the reports pile up, his mandibles twitching. They're not just surviving, he told Clyte. They're spreading. Clyte's glow darkened. They threaten everything. Their chaos will break us. Or change us, Vree muttered, almost to himself. He'd started this expecting humans to fade. Now, he wasn't sure. On Earth, Mia's team gathered around the cube, watching replies trickle in. Solara's message grew into a conversation. She sent data, maps, secrets about the Concorde's fleet. They're coming for you, she warned. They'll force you to stop. Leo laughed. Let them try. Tara cracked her knuckles. We've got a pilot, a junkyard, and a signal that won't quit. We're ready. Mia nodded, her mind already spinning with plans. The Concorde thought they could scare humans into silence. They didn't understand, silence wasn't an option. Earth wasn't just a planet anymore. It was a voice, growing louder, reaching farther. And out there, among the stars, others were listening. Solara met them in secret, her ship slipping past Concorde patrols. She landed in a desert, stepping out to face Mia under a sky full of stars. You're real, Solara said, her reptilian eyes wide. Not just noise. We're more than that, Mia replied. Want to help us prove it? Solara hesitated, then nodded. Yes. The tide was turning, not with weapons, not yet, but with ideas. The Concorde's rules had held the galaxy still for too long. Humans were shaking it awake, one broadcast at a time. Vree felt it, Clyte feared it, and Solara joined it. Back in the warehouse, the cube hummed, its signal stretching farther than ever. Mia looked at her team, Leo's grin, Tara's fire, Sam's music, Rosa's warmth. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting to inspire. And somewhere, out in the dark, the galaxy was starting to dream again. The Concorde's next move was coming. Everyone knew it. But humans weren't waiting, they were building, plotting, shouting. The stars weren't theirs yet, but they were close. And the web of rules. It was tearing. The Armada arrived at dawn, a shadow over Earth's skies. Vree commanded from the lead ship, his claws tight on the controls. Disable their signals, he ordered. End this now. Beams lanced down, targeting satellites. Cities flickered as power wavered. But in the warehouse, Mia hit the switch. The cube roared, a signal so loud it shook the walls, a mix of music, code, and raw human spirit. It punched through the fleet's defenses, worming into their systems. Screens on Vria's bridge flickered. What's happening? He demanded. A technician chittered, panicked. Their signal, it's inside us. Firewalls are failing. Sam's guitar riffs blared through the fleet speakers. Rosa's voice followed, reciting a soup recipe in defiance. Then the real damage hit, Leo's code, a mess of loops and glitches, locked their weapons. Tara's fighters launched, darting between the giant ships, too small to target effectively. Vree slammed a claw on the console. Fight back. Override it. But the humans weren't done. Mia's hack turned the fleet's navigation into a maze, ships spun, collided, froze. Solara, aboard a rogue Concorde vessel, fed them weak points. Hit the relays, she signaled. They're blind without them. Tara whooped, diving her fighter into the fray. Explosions bloomed, not from destruction, but from precision. The humans didn't need to win a war, they needed to break the Concorde's grip. And they did. One by one, ships went dark, drifting in confusion. On the ground, Leo's broadcast surged. "This is Earth," he said, voice steady. "We don't kneel. We build. Join us, or get out of the way." The signal reached beyond the fleet, to planets, stations, rebels who'd heard the call before. The galaxy listened. Vree watched his armada falter, his mandibles slack. Clyte floated beside him, its glow fading. "They've ruined us," it whispered. "Their chaos, it's too strong." "No," Vree said, staring at Earth's blue glow. "It's not chaos. It's them." The fleet retreated, limping back to Concord space. They hadn't lost a war, they'd lost control. Earth stood tall, its skies clear again. Mia's team gathered in the warehouse, exhausted but alive. Tara landed her fighter, grinning through the soot. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it." "Not yet," Mia replied, eyes on the cube. "This isn't the end. It's the start." She was right. The galaxy shifted. Solara's ship joined Earth's orbit, her crew defecting to the human side. Other species followed, traitors, dreamers, outcasts drawn by the signal. The Concord's council fractured, younger delegates questioning the old ways. Vree resigned, his last report a quiet admission: "We underestimated them. They don't just break rules. They rewrite them." Months passed. Earth became a hub, not of war, but of ideas. Mia's junkyard tech spread, blending with alien designs. Tara trained pilots from a dozen worlds, her laughter echoing across hangars. Leo's broadcasts evolved into a galactic network, a tapestry of voices, human and beyond. Sam's music mixed with alien beats, Rosa's recipes fed new friends. The Concorde didn't fall, not entirely. But it shrank, its iron grip rusted by Earth's spark. New alliances formed, messy and loud, built on curiosity instead of control. Humans led, not with weapons, but with that stubborn, wild spirit the galaxy hadn't seen in eons. One night, Mia stood on a hill, the cube in her hands. It still hummed, a faint echo of their first broadcast. Solara joined her, scales glinting under the stars. "You changed everything," Solara said. "How?" Mia smiled, simple and sure. "We didn't give up. We dreamed bigger. The galaxy wasn't theirs, not yet. But it was open now, a canvas of light and sound where humans painted with abandon. The Concorde had underestimated them, thinking Earth was just another speck. They were wrong. Humans didn't just survive, they rewrote the rules, and the stars sang with it. Out there, new voices joined the chorus. A traitor ship hummed Sam's tune. A drone swarm danced to Rosa's stories. A rebel fleet flew Tara's colors. And somewhere, Vree watched, wondering what came next. He didn't know. No one did. That was the beauty of it.